of something superior to itself. Education is not going to save us, no matter how many universities we build. But there is something in the university that can help us to outgrow the university. And that is the thing we are greatly concerned with. We have today great schools of science. We have a new age of computers that is already short-circuiting itself. We have all kinds of advancements that we boast of, including munitions. But none of these things have any permanent value and have no foundation in truth. The truth of the matter is that all material things exist for two purposes alone. The basic purpose being to preserve the continuity of material existence, and the second, to outgrow it. And without these two working together, we're in very bad shape. Now, to get the thing back on its feet again, we have to restore the concept that the great moving power of creation, as we know it, is love. Without love, nothing will work. Without love, true love, nothing can be truly accomplished. And what we have generally regarded as affection or love is for the most part too diluted, too weak, and too inadequate to fulfill its own purpose. Therefore, the only basis of international understanding is mutual affection. The only way of preventing divorces from running away with mankind is affection. An affection, of course, based upon a certain experience. The things that happen to us are intended to be a continuing, unrolling scroll of learning. Every day we learn something. And now, every day that we learn something, we promptly forget anything we don't want to know, or never bother to take consideration of it. We are working on a mental level, and this mental level is getting us into one difficulty after another, because the mind is useless unless it is warmed by the love principle within it. Wisdom without love is fallacy. Strength without compassion is fallacy. Learning without love, or without leading to a greater faith in realities, is empty, is nothing to it. And we are living on this surface of this emptiness every day of our lives, and trying to make it seem as though it was important and useful. So if in the next few years, which it seems quite reasonable, there will be a continual unfolding of the significance of the feminine principle in life, that it is going to be restored to the dignities which it once held for long periods of time, until the human being became too intellectual and lost contact with reality. This means also, however, that the advancement of the feminine part of society depends upon some thoughtfulness, some consideration, and some realization of significance. Instead of assuming that this can be accomplished by the woman taking on the mental attitudes of the man, is not going to work. Because if it worked for her, it would have worked for him, and it didn't. The more she becomes a man in thinking and living and competing, the more certain she is to contribute to the common ruin. This is not her province. Her province is not to copy, but to originate. It's not to do what has been done by men, but to do what only a woman could do, has done, and can do again. It is a tremendous challenge in which a half of human life has become aware, or is becoming aware, of its absolutely indispensable part in survival. That the survival of humanity rests firmly upon the feminine phase of the human race. Now this means we've got to do something to try to point out these values and not allow them to be drifted along until it is too late to use their emphasis. It should be definite that actually every opportunity should be given and taken to acquaint the women of the world with their spiritual responsibilities and opportunities, their social leadership, and even their political leadership. A political leadership which, perhaps like the League of the Iroquois, permits them to appoint their representatives, or be their representatives themselves. But the main problem is to keep the heart power dominant. Love and love alone can solve this problem. Nothing else can. Faith can be strengthened by love, and love can strengthen faith. Peace can be aroused by faith or become apparent through love and through kindness. Kindness was a very great power in ancient thinking, and we now consider it largely as a feminine virtue. But kindness is, according to Buddhism, is the next world teacher. The next world teacher is the Bodhisattva Maitreya. And the word Maitreya means kind, or kindness. And it looks awfully much as though there is something very deep and mysterious in this ancient concept that was given to the world over 2,000 years ago, that the universal savior of the future must be kindness. Power, skill, war, no. But a kindness which causes the individual to have an enduring sympathy for the needy. Kindness which means to turn away all wrath. Kindness which means to be ever aware of the needs of each other, and ever forgiving of each other, and ever mindful of our own need for improvement. All of these things sum up into what we might term a feminine dominance. Now, this feminine dominance can, to some degree certainly, be shared equally by all men, because a man has perfect capacity to be kind, if he wants to. He can be thoughtful. He can be affectionate. He can be considerate. He can be a good parent, a good marriage partner, and a good child. These things are not denied him in any sense of the word. He is perfectly capable of defending the best things in life. But when they come along, and there is a challenge, and there is a matter which requires, or is assumed to require, masculine prerogatives, let him forever remember that it is love in him that must solve, that it is not the privilege of the man to go out and fight. It is not even his need to fight for the defense of a woman, because if man and women come to their proper relationship, there is no longer a conflict. Each one supports the other in its needs and fulfillments, and does everything possible to advance the common good. So it's natural that the maternal instinct, which we all recognize, and which goes on through life in most cases, parents are thoughtful of their children for the most part throughout all the years of life, but in some mysterious way, life has crippled many of them. They are disillusioned, they are hurt, they have had disappointments, they have been betrayed in many respects and ways, and outraged. But there is still the great necessity of starting somewhere to put the thing back in order. And the place that may all things have to begin is in the cradle. The beginning of the reformation of the world will not come from the top. It will not come from the great treaties which will be made and broken before the ink is dry. The great changes for the future begin in the cradle. They begin with a new relationship and a new understanding between child and parent, a bringing up of the child in a present atmosphere, one of control, discipline, and affection. A parent actually able, through knowledge and insight, to bring to the child everything possible to enable it to become a law-abiding, lawful, and intelligent citizen. While these processes are on, the elders of the tribe, so to say, will go on with their lawmaking and do the best they can, probably, to bring some kind of cosmos out of this chaos. But in the long run, it is a gentle, kindly, continuing strength of principles and ideals that must bring us through. we will never be able to find a peace that results from war. We will find a peace that results from the spreading of the peace in the human heart, and also a peace that is prescribed, recommended, and ordered by practically every religion of the world. These things also bear in mind the fact that from the earliest time religion has been primarily invested in women. Religion has become their instrument, and in Christianity the number of canonized women is very considerable, and many symbols and articles are related to women. The robes of the sibyls become the garments of the cardinals, and the cardinals and the higher officials nearly always wear robes that are suggestive of the women of antiquity, who were the oracles and the custodians of wisdom. So the churches, the mosques and the synagogues and the temples and the chapels and the shrines all have the same essential principle to work with. In every case, God has so loved humanity that it gave its only begotten Son to save the world. And that love of God is the mother of humanity. It is that love which is expressed and exemplified. Without that love, the act of creation would be sterile. But divinity has given the power of love to control all things. And the divinity itself is an androgynous unity. It is mother-father. It has to be both. It cannot be either alone. It is a power which is divided in us, but was a unity in the beginning, and must again ultimately be unified in creation. Everything in the end must be governed by perfect wisdom, resulting in perfect love. All these things we sort of realize now, and we are reaching out and feeling for them in times of trouble and wondering if something can be done about it. But I think something can be done about it, but it's going to take a little thought. And I think among the things it's going to take will be a very definite acceptance by women of their divine birthright, of the right that they have to have a marvelous and protective power in the form of their leadership of mankind. Actually, as has been made many comic remarks about it, the average man is a rather helpless creature at best, and he's getting more so every day. He is becoming hopelessly involved in world affairs. He's trying to get a job and keep it. He is being pushed around by mechanization. He is being unemployed through the corruptions of our economic system. He is a perturbed and disturbed creature. And he, in turn, needs a certain amount of insights. He has got to also find that in his heart and soul there's only one thing that will ever bring him any peace, and that is that he will be able to put his own life in order, that he will be able to be the person that he would want to be if he could be. And to do this, all he can do at the present time is to become a proper spirit in his own family, that he can share the responsibilities of that family, contribute in every way that he can to leadership in his own field, and to support the maternal growth of spiritual values in family life. He has the only things he can do at the moment, really basically, is to have faith in a divine power, and to have love for all he knows and all that he can do to help those for whom he has responsibility. These things he can do, but in some mysterious way the gates of intuition, the mysterious power of leadership, is best developed in the feminine nature. Now, how would a woman go about to strengthen this particular factor in her own life? It becomes obvious that if she simply becomes a companion to a materialist, this is not going to do it. It also follows that if she follows with all the ambitions and economic pressures that she has always carried, if she